We have opened up the White House and the press operation to new media voices. It's been incredibly successful. I hope we'll get you in there.
I know. Y'all better get it right.
And the latest hoax is Maryland Man, because it's another hoax that was manufactured by the left, and they framed this individual, as you mentioned, as to be Father of the Year, living a peaceful life in Maryland. Anything but that.
You may not be able to tell it specifically, but if you can, who's the hardest organization to work with? The youngest press secretary in United States history, Karoline Leavitt. You may not remember this, but when you were running for office, you inspired me so much because you called people who you knew would be interested in your campaign or could help your constituency. You called, and I'm one of the people that you called. And I remember talking to you on the phone. I said, one day she's gonna be something great. I thought you were gonna win that. But then now to see you being the press secretary is like par for what I thought for you, because you were so sweet and nice and hardworking, and you deserve all the success that you're getting.
Thanks, Brandon. That's very kind of you to say. And I'm glad I didn't win that race, because you know what? God had a different plan and it worked out. And I'm so blessed to be in this position. And it's just been a crazy ride since that campaign where we first became socialized with one another. But we're having a lot of fun here at the White House, and we're doing a lot of good work. And the president is a man on a mission to save this country, and it's fun to be a part of. I
love that. I can feel that. You guys are doing a lot of new innovative things, like incorporating podcasters and alternative media. How have you guys implemented that as a strategy, and what do you expect to come from just making it more dynamic and getting the message out to a wider range of people?
Sure. Well, this all begins with the president himself. I mean, he owned the new media, non-traditional media lane on the campaign. And it's one of the many reasons he won the election, because he had a willingness to sit down with non-traditional media voices on different platforms with many times larger audiences than cable news and legacy media. And as his press secretary, I felt it would be irresponsible of me not to implement that same media strategy here at the White House, and to not speak to the millions of Americans who tune into podcasts and shows like yours. So we have opened up the White House and the press operation to new media voices. It's been incredibly successful. We've had thousands of applications to sit in the new media seat in the briefing room. We hope we'll get you in there.
I know. Y'all better get it right. We got to get
we'll
in there.
Schedule that. I wish there were more seats. I wish the room was bigger, but we also have welcomed so many new voices to campus to do these podcast rows and media rows, and making sure the cabinet is available to new media voices like yourself and is speaking to a larger audience than just tuning into, the local news at night. It's a different digital age, and I think we're truly representing that here at the White House.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys did that. I'm glad you guys stepped up and wasn't, following the status quo, because there is room and a necessity for the truth to get out there, because the legacy media is just screwing everybody over. I literally listen to you all the time, having to combat lies and lies, especially with the person that they claim is the father that was falsely deported. I mean, this guy is clearly an MS-13 gang member, designated by 2 judges, and so on and so forth. You know the scenario, and it's crazy how they're still arguing with you about this.
Yeah.
What lessons have you learned from being a part of Kayleigh McEnany's press secretary position, or at least being an assistant?
Yeah.
How has that geared you or prepared you to do what you're doing now? Because I know it's not easy.
It's not easy when you're going up against an entire institution in the legacy media who is blinded by bias. They may not want to admit it, but they absolutely are. And I have a list of hoaxes on a whiteboard in my office, and the latest hoax is Maryland Man, because it's another hoax that was manufactured by the left in the legacy media, and they framed this individual, as you mentioned, as to be Father of the Year, living a peaceful life in Maryland. Anything but that. This is an illegal immigrant, a gang banger, a part of one of the most vicious gangs in the planet. MS-13 brutalizes, rapes, and kills for sport. I mean, these are vicious animals. And he's a member of that gang. He beat his wife, in her own words, not mine. So more than enough evidence for this individual to be deported back to his home country. And this is exactly what the American public reelected the president to do. And it's such a disservice to the American people that we have such a dishonest legacy media in this country. But we do our best to combat it every day with the facts and the truth. And we have a president who is fully willing to suit up and go to battle with the media every day. And it makes it easier when you have truth on your side and you have facts. And especially in this case, there are more than enough facts to prove this is a man who should have been deported, and we maintain that position.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, a lot of people probably would wonder, how do you prepare for a press briefing?
Yeah.
You know, because it's a lot of facts going out there. There's a lot of disinformation that they're shooting at you and trying to trip you up.
Yeah.
You know, how do you prepare, other than being incredibly brilliant? For the average person, is there like, do you spend, you know, all night looking over facts and different things like that?
Yeah.
Are you quizzing yourself? How do you prepare for those
There's a
meetings?
lot of preparation, no doubt, because we have a president who makes so much news. I mean, every day there's news stories out of the administration because we're doing so much. So it's certainly a lot to keep up with. But I have a great team who helps me prepare and brings news stories to my office, to my desk each morning before briefing. And I just read. There's no shortcut. You have to read the news. And I'm also sometimes feeling like I'm an internal investigative reporter here because I see things in the press and then I go figure it out amongst my colleagues in the building about whether it's fact or truth or whether it's a lie. A lot of it I know firsthand because I'm in these meetings and I know what's going on. And so I rely on the policy experts in the building as well. There's so many smart people here who are doing great work on behalf of the president, and it's my job to call them up and say, what are the facts here? What is the media getting wrong, and how can we correct this? So that's a large part of what I do every day.
Awesome. And this may be more of a personal question. It seems like this administration is doing a lot to support women, and especially young women, and also young mothers.
Yeah.
And so what is it like having to do this rigorous job and also be a mom? I mean, your baby is really young, I think.
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
So what is that balance like for you?
It's a blessing and it's a challenge all at once. Every day is challenging because you want to do your best at your job and be the best parent and best mother that I can be. It's about prioritization of my time, but certainly working for a president who's fully supportive of working moms and dads here at the White House, and a chief of staff in Susie Wiles, who has been incredibly accommodating and welcoming of the family environment in the West Wing. You know, we had the Easter egg roll on Monday, and there was a photo line for staff before the event, and the staff line was so long with all of President Trump's senior staff, and there were so many kids running around. I was playing I Spy with many of my colleagues' kids at the table to keep them entertained as we were waiting for the presidents in the pictures. So, you know, it's a family-friendly White House, and you don't often see that across administrations, but you know, it feels good to be part of something. We're all in it together. We all understand the challenges we face as young parents raising children while, you know, working these very demanding jobs. But of course, knowing this job is much bigger than myself or even my family. This is for the country, working on behalf of a president who's truly making monumental change.
I love that. That is such a great response because it's so truthful and authentic. And I love that Donald Trump does that. And I love that you are a hardworking person. And I say this even at the beginning. I knew that I was like, this girl is a freaking rock star. She really believes in what she's doing.
Thank you.
And I love that it's showing in the work that you're doing. Also, I'll say, who's the hardest media organization to deal with? Because I know that everybody's shooting questions at you, and then you go and listen to what they're reporting on in the news, or you see it in the news. You may not be able to tell it specifically, but if you can, who's the hardest organization to work with?
NBC and CNN are always at the top of the list. I answer questions honestly, and that's just the truth. And I let them know that, you know, a lot of the television journalists who work for these cable networks, sometimes it's like they're performing, like they're an actor. They don't actually care about the answer to your question. They just want that viral clip in moment. And I've addressed that with many of them. And it's kind of part of the game that they play in the briefing room. But there are a lot of reporters here who I will say do actually care about what we have to say and getting the administration side of things and putting that into their stories. And we're not asking for positive coverage, we're asking for fair coverage and to give our office enough time to respond and to get the facts and the truth from our side into the story. And there's a lot of reporters who do that on a daily basis, but there's a lot of them who don't. and unfortunately are just here to make a name for themselves. But that's okay. We deal with them every day anyway.
That's awesome. Okay, last question, because I know you're very busy. What is, in the first 100 days of Donald Trump's administration, obviously you've been a part of that, what is one of the biggest things that you feel like you've been able to accomplish from your position, being the press secretary?
Oh man, well, there's so much more to accomplish and there's so much more to do. But I do think the whole team, the whole communication staff, we are very proud of the changes we've made in the briefing room, which we discussed, and just opening the space up to new media. We've now taken over the reconstruction of the press pool. So who is that small group that gets to go into the Oval Office every day, and who gets to go on Air Force One to ask the president questions? We're determining those journalists based on the news of the day, what the president is doing, the policy decisions are being made, so that truly accurate information can be relayed to the American public. And we're giving these opportunities now to journalists who would have never had them before if the White House Correspondents Association was still running things around here. So it's a better service, I think, for the American public. And the president remains the most transparent president ever. I mean, even this morning, he was walking around on the North Lawn checking things out. He wants to put some big, beautiful flagpoles out. And he took questions. He did a little impromptu press conference at 10 in the morning. And the press love it. They won't admit it on air, but they were all very happy this morning because they have access. There's nothing to hide here. We are fully transparent and accessible and provide, as much real-time information as we can.
Okay, awesome. One last question. I said the other one was the last question,
okay.
But this is the real last question. What is you've been working with Trump, around Trump for a very long time. I think all the way since 2016, being a part of 2018. So what is your favorite thing about Trump? What's the most admirable thing that you have experienced when working with Trump, even being around him?
Yeah, he is such a fun person to be around, and he has an incredible sense of humor. He's truly one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like, he cracks me up every day, and he's a problem solver. When you bring a problem to him or when he sees a problem, he wants to address it. Even if it's something that really isn't part of his slogan or the administration's goals, but he sees a problem in the world, he directs us as his staff to go figure it out. If it's something as small as cleaning up a single homeless encampment here in DC that somebody, paid attention to or brought to his attention, or solving these wars that he's currently trying to negotiate our way out of. The president is a problem solver, and it's really inspiring to see him just give so much time and attention to the smallest of problems and the largest of global problems every day. It's quite fascinating to watch him in action.
Ms. Leavitt, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I know you're super busy.
Thank you.
I know you got a lot of stuff to do, and hopefully I'll be able to interview and talk to you again. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for coming to the White House.
Yes, thank you.